Hello there, it's Tania Gabrielle, Wealth Astro-Numerologist. Welcome to Star Codes, the podcast where we look at an upcoming event in the stars and numbers, the astrology and numerology, and in this case, it is Mars coming up in Taurus and joining Uranus at 26 degrees Taurus. And Mars and Uranus come together approximately every 2 years due to Mars's cycle. But this year it is more potent, and I'll tell you why in a moment. So the last time they joined was August 2nd, 2022, and that was also with the South Node and also in Taurus. It was 18 degrees Taurus. This time it is 26 degrees Taurus. Uranus moves super slowly, so it has moved 6 degrees since 2 years ago. So what makes this one so important is two reasons. We have a square to Pluto in the U.S. natal chart. So if you have followed astrology, you know that the U.S. had its Pluto return in the last couple of years or so. So that means Pluto, for the first time ever since 1776, has completed its 248-year cycle and come to its birthplace in the U.S. chart. And there's been a lot of transformation and turmoil and new beginnings that are still unfolding, actually, as Pluto completes its return. And it's still not quite over yet, because Pluto, which moved into Aquarius earlier this year, is going to dip out one more time between September 1st and November 19th this year and go back into Capricorn. So long story short, not to confuse you, a square is the most tense aspect we can have in astrology. And this conjunction with Mars coming up and joining Uranus is creating that 90-degree square to the natal placement of Pluto in the U.S. chart during the Pluto return. So that will really stimulate a lot of change and havoc, and it's a very stressful aspect. I mean, when Uranus and Mars come together, basically you're not supposed to go under the knife, have surgery, because there's a risk of an accident or a risk of something that goes a little bit differently than planned. However, even though it indicates major shakeups, both personally and collectively, those shakeups are there to reverberate and create something that is really stimulating and creates almost like an open door to shift energy that has been stuck. And it's really fitting that we're having this moment in 2024, because this is a year of transition. It is a year of taking the lead in your own life. 2024 is an 8 universal year in numerology, which means you take the lead. You are not beholden to external prompts and circumstances, but you're only responsible for how you show up under every circumstance. And so the transition year that we're experiencing in 2024 leading into next year, 2025, when we have all the slow-moving planets moving to 0 degrees of a new sign, indicating a huge new lease on life on so many levels, this is really a moment to remember. Now, I just mentioned the 6 slow-moving planets, and they are Jupiter, Uranus, Saturn, and then Neptune, Chiron, and Pluto. Pluto being the slowest moving. And Pluto is the first of the slow-moving planets to move to 0 degrees. So remember, this conjunction of Uranus and Mars creates a very tense square to that planet, Pluto, in the U.S. chart. And as you know, there is a tremendous amount of turmoil going on at this time in the U.S. politically. Now, Pluto does rule politics as well. And Capricorn, the sign that Pluto is retrograding back into September through November 19th, also governs the powers that be, right? The leadership. Capricorn is the sign associated with career in astrology. So it represents the public standing, the highest echelon that you can reach. Now, let's look a little bit closer at Mars conjunct Uranus. So it's a great intensification of creativity using your libido, your imagination, and craving independence. So you want to absolutely listen more closely than ever to your intuition, and that will also help you navigate situations where there may be surprises, which are quite possible with this conjunction. So surprising developments you can prepare for, but you don't know until the time comes how you're going to respond. And so your intuition is going to really help you move through those times. Your enthusiasm is really magnified. I mean, Mars is very much about passion. So it's a wonderful time to implement change and focus on your goals, because they can really be directed with incredible results, because you are craving not only change but fun and excitement. So Mars conjunct Uranus at any time is your invitation to free yourself from limitation, to free yourself from being held back or being locked in a situation. Yes, this is rebellious, radical energy, and it's motivating you to break free from limits in your life. And this change and excitement is wonderful for shifting and loosening up energy, for creating breakthroughs and breakdowns that lead to big shifts. At the same time, risk-taking is not necessarily the best option. You want to follow your intuition, but you want to really stay controlled. So self-control and a focus on a particular goal are really helped to dampen the negative side of this conjunction, which is that it's accident prone. So yeah, experiment with ideas, find those new adventures, find those new ways, those new relationships, new work environment or work direction, and then you'll create important new opportunities for yourself, because you are literally open to those new beginnings. Now, I haven't mentioned yet that this is happening on July 15th, right in the middle of the month. And July in 2024 is a 15 universal month. 15 is the spiritual alchemist, the magician. Now, on the flip side, the magician can either be dark or light. So be aware that there's a lot of very potent magical energy, and Taurus is a magical sign of nature, of abundance. So there's really a lot of good opportunity, positive energy with the spiritual alchemist, the uplifting others through joy number. It is such a beautiful number in numerology, unless it is used, of course, with a negative goal in mind. So 1515, huge, wonderful, beautiful energy, especially since July resonates to 15 to begin with, so it's even more potent. The other thing is, and I'm not a student of fixed stars, I know about them, I know some of their meanings, but this time I do have to mention that Uranus and Mars are conjunct Algol. Algol is a fixed star at 26 degrees Taurus, and this conjunction happens at 26 degrees Taurus on July 15th. And Algol is a fixed star that Ptolemy, the ancient Greek astrologer, said was about leaders losing power or abdicating power. So this can be a very potent time, not just in the US, but of course I'm focusing somewhat more on this country, being an American and seeing what is going on. But just in general, it is a huge time also for earthquakes, because when these two energies come together in an earth sign of Taurus, which represents earth, there can be shakes. You know, Mars represents fire and Uranus is about shaking things up and breakthroughs. So that too can be an issue. Now, I mentioned Taurus is deeply connected with nature, it's deeply connected with abundance, with financial flow, with beauty, with our natural environment in general. And with Uranus in this sign since 2018, again, it's a slow-moving planet, there's been a really big awakening in general about the magic and beauty and power of nature on our lives. And that's been something that's been beautifully stimulated in our hearts. Now, Taurus also is about what you own. So your property and your financial flow, your abundance. And so changes in property ownership, changes in location, changes in lifestyle are deeply impacted not only by Uranus and Taurus, but by this conjunction. So it can impact wanting to relocate or wanting to change things up regarding how you live your life in general. You can also have Mars and Uranus conjunct in your birth chart, right? That can be an aspect in your birth chart. And I want to just mention one very well-known actor who unfortunately died way too young, Robin Williams, one of the greatest comedians and actors. He had that conjunction in his birth chart, and he benefited from that conjunction in his astrocartography. Where he ended up in LA was totally stimulated by a line that's connected to this conjunction in his chart, and it really catapulted him into the stratosphere very suddenly. And I talk about this in my new free masterclass on astrocartography, which you can watch at positivelocations.com. It's called Astrocartography, the Power of Fortunate Places, and it talks about the secret power of places regarding the overlay of your birth chart onto the world, and 5 critical components that make up your astrocartography chart. There are so many lines to consider, not just the main ones that you're used to looking at online if you've checked out your astrocartography chart. And I give numerous celebrity examples, including Robin Williams. And one common mistake that so many people make when they look up their chart online, and how to avoid that mistake, and your relocated chart, the importance of it, and so much more. So go watch that free new masterclass at positivelocations.com. Enjoy it, discover the incredible world of astrocartography, and have a beautiful week, a calm week, if at all possible. Enjoy the incredible inspiration and imagination and creativity that is ignited by this incredible conjunction of Mars and Uranus in Taurus. Sending you lots of love, and I'll see you next week.